this background and I have no idea how to do these things. So
Honestly,
honest doesn't help.
a whole economics honors, and I'm like,
A
what
whole economic, and I don't know.
It really doesn't help. Like,
Right?
I know right now we need to file for our tax returns or something. And I was just like,
Don't know what to
I don't know how to do that.
Surely this type of education should be happening a lot closer to like secondary, primary school, you know what I mean? As opposed to waiting for you to specialize and choose your degree, and then all of a sudden we sort of teach people. And you guys are already telling me that, you know, even in your commerce degrees, you're not learning these things. So it just seems, IDK, I feel like the education system is letting us down a bit.
And it's also like when you get to varsity, you're always being sold like a credit card or like a student account this, a student account that, like a Cotton On account. And no one tells you like the repercussions of having to paying off those accounts and all that interest.
Open a store account and get like a good credit score. But no one really talks about the implications of not paying that one payment. Like, yes, build your credit score, but you miss one payment, you mess up the whole thing. So you'd rather not actually open up an account if you're not going to be committed to it.
Right.
Through bad advice and to get to the good advice. Like there's so much like rich dad, poor dad versus like philosophy, you know what I mean? And like so I guess sometimes you have to make mistakes to find what works for you. But I think making financial mistakes, I think particularly in South Africa, where so many people are so close to like falling into poverty, it's hard to even try branch out to make those mistakes. I was like, everyone here, like, how is your relationship and your parents' relationship with money? Like, do you guys talk about finances? Do you guys talk about their investments, their sort of financial plan, and do they impart knowledge on you? And if they do you feel like it's been good for you or not good for you?
But I wanted, that whole sifting through bad advice, I think that's a big thing that it like is an issue that we don't really deal with. We don't know what is fake and problematic and bad because there's no sort of like regulatory issue around that. Because I don't know anything about a topic and I see something about a topic, I'm, of course I can be wary and, watch a lot of different things, but if I don't know anything, how am I supposed to know that this is the right thing? So I like that you're trying to orientate people and say, okay, well, if you would need to do this, do that. Right. And I think that's really important because, you just don't know so much.
Sifting through good and bad advice, it is really hard because like even when I'm doing my own personal research, it is quite hard. And that's why a lot of YouTubers will tell you that this does not constitute financial advice because you actually have to be a qualified person to give people advice, and what works for me might not work for you. It's just like how I spoke about when my dad like went for a car and I went for a car, we didn't get quoted the same amount. So it does get difficult, and I think that's why a lot of people have actually just avoided the topic because it's so subjective. It really depends on who you are, and some of the factors that it depends on are really stupid and bad for our country.
For the great presentation, I really enjoyed it, and it's things that we really like you said, we need to know as we become adults, I guess. And I'm also quite inspired by your whole YouTube story and how you've turned that passion into something that works for you. And I think, that's one of the greatest things about doing something that you really enjoy and trying to contribute and help other people. And then all of a sudden it starts helping you back. Thank you for that. The more confusing you make it, the less interested people are going to be in actually learning about it and figuring it out for themselves. And in that way, you can actually just exploit as much as possible. But that was just a random comment. My actual question is, when did you actually start YouTubing, and what led you to that point in wanting to truly build something out of it?
Thank you for your comment, Abdullah. Like, I relate to it 100%. So with YouTube, I started YouTubing, I think it was 2017. It was the end of my second year, and it was just meant to be like a personal visual diary for me to just vent. At that time, I had like just recently like gotten a lot of anxiety because I was like head student and all of that nonsense. So I was really stressed. Yeah, Naledi and Carmen will know how much they stressed me. Um, so my YouTube was just for me to vent and to share like my life and my boyfriend and my family and all of that. But it wasn't until I did one video and then it got like a lot of attention. So I was like, hey, maybe there's a gap in this area. So I did another one and then another one. And then suddenly YouTube was like, hey, we're noticing you as a creator. Let's talk type of thing. Obviously they didn't say let's talk, you know. But I was like, okay, maybe this is something I could pursue. And that's just sort of how it went. And the nice thing about YouTube is that the growth is really exponential. It takes a while to catch on to people, especially because it's so data heavy. Like it's a video and there's just a lot. So it's really slow in the beginning. But once people catch on, like it's only up from there.
I feel like one of the things I enjoy most about your channel is like how authentic it is. Like I know you, like I can see like everything you're going through, you're actually going through, if that makes sense. And it just like, it feels very relatable and very like accessible. And it's like, these are really things that people need to know. And I think it's also nice coming from like a Black woman, like seeing your like position as you like will grow in your business and whatever, and seeing you grow as like a content creator and, you know, future CA. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just also like role modeling for other people, and I feel like we don't necessarily get it. There's not a lot of that imaging that we see, so I think that's also good.
Thank you, Fiona.
Sure. Also, like, completely agree what you were saying, Fee. It's like you're super relatable when watching the videos, because a lot of time with these topics, they're quite intimidating. And when you're watching someone that knows that comes across as they know it all and they super experienced in it, it's a bit standoffish, and you're like, oh, I don't have the energy to do this. But like, it's fun watching the videos, and it feels like you taking us on a journey with you. So I've enjoyed the videos that I've seen.
Thanks, you guys. I think it is really important, like even with content, like I don't know if you guys like have like content creators on your TL, like on Instagram. It's really nice when whatever they're doing just comes naturally. Because when something starts feeling like an advert, when something starts feeling too formal, I switch off. I'm no longer interested because you're selling me something and I don't care. But if someone actually adds in like some personal flair, it's like, oh, okay, you know. And I find that like in today's world, a lot of people are trying to act like they have everything under control. Everyone wants to be looking really good, looking snatched, looking rich, but you know, there's actually there's a lot of nonsense going on at the back. So I just thought, you know, let me actually just talk, because I know if someone had told me,
you know, now it's like, okay, you know, we going through this is what's happening in this life, this is what's happening here, I'm happy, I'm not happy, you know, so many different, you know, facets of a human. I think it's really great. So yeah, obviously you don't want to share everything with people on the internet. I think that's...
When it comes to your careers, do you not have any like uncertainties, like where will you work, how do you apply, like what goes on in your mind? I know with us in like accounting as a CA person, it's very easy because you can sign your contract as early as matric. So like for me, the job hunting thing is only going to actually start after I qualify. So I'm just wondering, how are you guys navigating that? How's it going? Are you
like a different perspective of like where I'm in a job and it is a graduate program. So the contract I signed is for a year, and then I find out in October if the contract gets extended, right? Which is quite stressful because, I mean, especially working from home, I have no idea about like how it's going. Like it's like, you know, that emoji where like it's the dog sitting at a table and it's fine and everything's on fire. That's how I feel. So been postponing applying, and then like this weekend I like looked for what I can apply to, and I have no idea like what I'm doing, right? I started applying for graduate programs again, and then my dad was like, you do realize you're not a graduate? And I was like, oh my god, what does that mean? And he's like, you can just apply to normal jobs. I was like, wait, what does that mean? Demotivated that you might not be getting positions in the top 5 of whatever firm you get in, and you getting callbacks from smaller companies. That experience could be way better than being in the top brand name. Cool, like you get to change your LinkedIn and be like, oh, I'm here, right? But now you're going to have to go every single day into work, and that name isn't going to make you happy throughout the entire time.
I can actually like attest to that, because a lot of people do follow the big companies, the international companies, because we all think it's easier to move around like internationally. But the experience that you get from like your smaller companies is so great because it's so personalized. You know, you become a number at one of these big firms. Like I'm someone,
when I joined my company, we came in like a group of 15, and everyone, like, because we're on the same level, we're all like earning the same salary, all the same level, but it's like you can just almost see the different types of like responsibilities people have, right? Like there's the people that come from a super privileged background that all their money is just going towards themselves. Like, yes, they pay in rent, yes, they've moved to Joburg, but that's all they have to do. And then the other people where you can see that they've now, like, their money isn't their own, right? Like they have to pay like black tax, right? And it's quite difficult in the corporate environment, right, where everyone's like now buying, like popping bottles, going to really fancy restaurants. So this was like the first 2 months, right? Going to really fancy restaurants, going out, and it's like you don't want to not be included, because a big part of corporate is like you fit in the culture, right? And you networking. So if you can't go to these fancy dinners, to these drinks, live that lifestyle, how are you going to fit into this culture, which I think is like a huge, which is so like alienating to so many people.
Sometimes people compete with those things, because I know someone who is like 18,000 into overdraft, and I'm like, what? We're in our first year. And the thing is, before I knew this, I was always like, yo, how is this guy affording all of this? This guy has Woolworths every single day. Wow, I'm packing a lunchbox. But now when I look back, I'm like, I'm fine with my fish fingers. You know, I don't want that 18K debt.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, like, and that's exactly how it is, right? And I think like I remember getting like my first piece of good advice, like the MDP sent me an email and he put a smiley face because I did really well, and I was like, oh my god, a smiley face, like this is the best thing I've ever gotten. Like I went to go tell my friend who's like 2 years older than me, and he was like, that's great, but realize that's going to change up so quickly, so don't be pushed by the positive feedback, right? Know that like you're worthy of this job and you good at this regardless of if you get the smiley face or not. And I think that's a big thing. I mean, that's like a big thing, I think, like throughout life, but like in particularly like with the job, because it's so much like you get this one-on-one, like you're responsible for your piece of work, right? And you're giving it to the manager, and you're not getting marks that are reflective directly to you, right? It's like it's a different experience. Well, at least for me.
I know I'm someone who doesn't really like emails. For me were not like a thing. Like I didn't care whether you greeted, whether you signed off, I didn't care. But nowadays when I get like emails from my managers or my seniors, and if they forget to put the kind and it's just regards, I'm like,
regard.
It's like what have I done to you, you know? And like if you don't greet me, or I hope you're well, and it's all these small things. And I mean, people honestly think that it's nothing, you know, it's just a waste of time, let me get straight to the point. But it's to really help your company. So I think the way that people frame their things and frame how they talk to people is really important, and which is why like these management courses are important. I know I used to think they were a waste of money, just an excuse for people to use money belonging to the company, but it's really important, because if you don't know how to lead and talk to your team effectively, like work morale is just all-time low. So yeah, I think people shouldn't sleep on those courses. soft skills are really.
What's also important from like, we can't really do anything about it, but maybe from a corporate standpoint, of being aware that if you want to expand the types of people that you are hiring, you are going to now need to add in more avenues of support for people. This isn't saying pay people more money. This is saying people have different lived experiences right now. No one's just coming in as a fresh graduate as you think they do, right? Yeah, so definitely